Okay, so probably starting again soon. And Alex asking, do I have any 45 tables open? Not anymore. These are all actually one 45 player, $7, where I have 170 chips. So that's probably not going to be a long one. And other ones are 90 players or 180 mens. And in this 180 men we are also in pretty bad situation, with just few PP left and PP coming on us in few hands. Thirteen places paid. And ace deuce we are definitely shoving. Well, we got decent hand, but against early position raise it doesn't look that great anymore. And in here we are pretty screwed, especially on that flop. Well, no more, one more deuce would have helped. And the ace-10 suited is pretty clear, so of course we have quite big, or well, no, can't say it's huge. Well, actually it's pretty big bounty, so we can get pretty light action, and guy calls with aces, some outs, but nope. That is one point to consider, especially on these knockout games, that when you do have big bounty on your head, it can induce lot lighter calls when you shove, especially if you are a small stack. So situation which might be really often good one to take without knockout values, it might become bad, especially against good players who are understanding the knockout value in these progressive ones. And even in normal knockout games, I would have open raised, but this guy limping, I'm just going to fold. I would add, if I can find on the 8 poker, some of those Nitro games or whatever they were. They should be pretty quick ones. $1 Nitro, 20 man. Well, it's not starting. Just might be that if these games are running to the end, they will take quite a while, but if I now start some 45 minutes or so, I think those will be again lasting too long, so Well, ace king, definitely min raising. We can get more action usually by min raising. Of course, these callings might bring some nasty situations. But this is pretty much not nasty situation. I can see bet small, I can check. I'm going for small c-bet this time. And basically when it's pretty dry flop, there is not that many draw combos he could have. So there's not that much point to make bigger bets on earlier street. But he probably didn't have the ace because he folded. What is the best format on 888 poker? Well, depends what you like to play. I have been playing STT games mostly here, some MTTs. We can't really fold top pair on this min bet, and now I consider my hand as pretty much nuts. If they happen to have better hands, then so be it. And actually it's pretty draw heavy. These guys are probably calling quite. Let's make it a bit higher than 400. And they both fold, so probably had some sort of weak pairs or. Yeah, nitros are like hypers. They are a four-handed game actually. Main problem with those is basically that they don't run that high. If I check here, higher one that is like open for registration is $10, but there is not a single player left, so. And in limp pot I'm going to be leading that flop. So that's the main problem on those games, that they are kind of, I don't know if there is similar format in any other sites, and when they don't really run that high, it's kind of waste of time to learn to play those ones especially, so I wouldn't really recommend them for anyone. Yeah, I think there has been just one min gas or something like that, so I could actually close this stack and tile or stop it. No reason for it anymore. Yeah, they are easy to grind, of course, and maybe if they are running enough, it can make some sense. And they are really quick, so, and most likely really soft, because I doubt that many good players would be playing them. I'm not sure of the rake side or anything like that. If we check here, $3 game, 25-cent rake, so It's quite close to something like 80%, a bit more. So it's pretty high for really fast format. Of course, we could add something like pocket 8 here. We can get some knockout value, and I think this one is pretty close, but it's going to be a bit plus EV usually. But it's on the bottom of my range against UTG range and this sort of position. And pocket 9s wakes up behind. But pretty close spot overall. I think like 7s are probably the lowest we should pretty much ever go in that spot. But I think 8s are a bit too strong usually to be folding. Then 5 is kind of interesting that if it's unopened, that could we shove that or not? Well, if Alex is... I thought about the rake on the Nitro games, if that's what you are asking. Seven jack. I kind of like to take this spot. Because with our stack, they have to call pretty wide to make this unprofitable. And they wake up with practical monster hand. So I definitely don't assume them to fold queen, king, queen here. But that might also be hand to mark. We can actually take it in, at least when it updates. Or is it this one? Or it was this one actually. For review, was our shove reasonable? It's not going to be Nash shove, that's for sure, but... And with pocket 9s I'm going to be playing... Well, if he shoves it's kind of ugly. There is a lot of knockout value when we cover these two players. And this seems kind of physical. Let's go. And we were in pretty good shape. Well, definitely we are not folding against these with queen jack suited, and in here we can go for donk shove and hope we get some. Of course, it's pretty rare that they both would be folding, but basically we can't be folding this one either, so I think it's going to make more sense to be the one aggressive and try to create some fold equity. And yeah, if we think about equity wise, we were in way ahead situation, or well, way ahead might be wrong, but ahead of his hand anyway, in equities on the flop. Yeah, it might be that my shove was too wide, but we can analyze that one. I think the PP looked like recreational player, so he might be relatively tight here. And we didn't have. I think it was these tables that we didn't have. We had just the initial bounty on our head, so not necessarily that huge inducer for calling ranges. Yeah, this has not been the greatest of sessions, but when you are speaking of 12 games, 12 games I played this session, it's not huge deal to be out of cash on the every game you play. That would again be kind of hand I might be shoving outside of knockout format, but in here it's probably better to be making that fold. So it would be winner $127. And of course winner gets also quite a nice knockout value usually, so it's actually quite bigger in a way. And with suited king we are we pretty much have to go. Well, if this guy shoves, then it's probably better to fold, but in here I can go for stop and go if I get him to fold like 10% of time. It's basically always good for me, but of course he's most likely not folding. So yeah, one of the min guesses, so not too much to be happy about this session. So here are the results. So minus $60, 10 buy-ins, and well, this doesn't probably show the knockout value, so it's probably something like $50 or something. At least if I remember right, it doesn't show the knockout values anywhere. So we had that Jack 7. I actually marked him it, I think. Yeah. So let's close the poker clients. And so I think we should actually use chip EV in this spot because we were far from the monies and we have really shallow stacks, so the ICM is going to be a really small factor for us. So in Nash we would be shoving this sort of range with assumption that BB is going to call 50%, and in the hand small blind called with king queen, so we can't really say anything about that, about his range, that is. But in my opinion, BB is most likely not going to be that wide, and we can probably tighten it down. I think something like 35% would be at least closer than 50% usually. So, of course, I haven't been playing these formats, so if you think that my range assumptions would be too optimistic, then please say so on the chat. I think this small blind looks like a pretty good player, so he's most likely going to play all the AX with the knockout value and most of the Broadway stuff. So with those assumptions, I think it would be plus EV to be shoving that one at least, but so if we think that they are that tight, then we can in chip EV shove this sort of range, and Jack 7 off would be pretty decent one. And basically I think this is pretty like good spot to analyze as chip EV spot, because we were so far from the monies and we have to try and build our stack. So if they are not wider than this, then our shove is clearly plus EV basically. And I think I still have 6 PP, so I think this range, for example, for random player is going to be quite, or kind of fishy looking player if I remember right. So 35 less 19, so I wouldn't assume him to be necessarily that wide in these spots. Can I use the advanced hand analysis? Well, I can, for example, for that ace-10 hand I had on the early part of session, where I raise called, that would be actually decent one for usual. This seems to have all the hands, so let's just today. Should be easy to find. So in here we were on the early part of the 90-man knockout, and basically, in my opinion, with ace-10, when we are playing chip EV, we should in general not be raise folding from this position against unknown players. And I think pretty often, like open shoving is going to be always plus EV here as well. So if we have tight reads on some players, for example, that they are only going to shove really tight range, then we can make kind of exploitable raise fold. But I mean raised here to induce action from wider ranges. This guy shoved. I didn't have any info on the guy, and I went for check raise call. So this one is pretty usual hand to be analyzing for advanced hand analysis. So again, we have to be using chip EV. We are opening 2 PP. This is actually different, I think, or I'm not sure if the official version is already using this. Can anyone confirm that if you have the basic or the official version, that does this view look like this? At least before it was different looking. But anyway, I opened 2 PP. Villain is shoving. We can fold these earlier players to quicken our calculation. And especially in full table, that is definitely recommended. Do not calculate every possibility the table offers. So it was this guy. So if he's having 16%, then our ace-10 is clearly plus EV to be calling. And we could actually, well, let's analyze this one first. So we can use this plot, select the villain, select the plot range versus hand equities, and if we choose ourselves, I think it shows the grab. It's actually not that way. We have to use the plot here, and yeah, this one we should be choosing. So in here we have on the x-axis the opponent button shoving range, and on the y-axis we have profitability of calling against the villain with ace-10 off. So the break-even spot point in here is like 11%, bit more. And if we check here what 11% is, like 11.9% would be this sort of range. So it doesn't have anything that weak. There's only going to be pocket pairs, pretty nice aces, and the most strongest of Broadway combos. And when we are thinking this sort of situation that we are opening from hijack, I think, well, in my opinion, that range is something we can expect to happen quite easily. Not necessarily if the villain happens to be passive or something, then he can be a lot tighter even, but So it's not using that new layout. Okay, I definitely recommend to upgrade to beta version of the Hold'em resources, and I think it can be quite easily found by googling. I can actually check it here. We have some time for this coaching anyway, so beta update, maybe it can be found like that. So here I googled with this sort of search words, and this probably has the instructions to how to update or change your Hold'em resources calculator into beta version. And there is the warning that there might be some problems with the beta version, and in here you have the instruction how to update into beta version and reverting to stable version. But basically, at least before, this beta version was offering a lot of the features that were not possible on the official or stable version. So I definitely recommend. I can also copy paste this chat into actually here. Not helping to click on the stream image. So yeah, but if Villain is showing this sort of range, then we have like break-even call with our ace-10. So we can basically say that at least we shouldn't be folding most without good reads like ace-jack or ace-10 suited, at least. And if we check this hand also in advanced hand, we can also give other possibilities here. You can basically have like, this is basically that when we define multiple options on the open category, it means that the Hold'em resources creates different trees, action trees for each possibility. So we can basically have like 2 pp, 3 pp all in here. So now it would create action trees for all these possibilities that we would open 2 pp or 3 pp, or we would be shoving. But of course, the more we add of these possibilities, the more calculation there will be for this software. And same applies here. We can have 5 pp 3-bet for villains behind us, or all in, or 8 pp, or, and same applies to these 4-bet 5-bets. And there is also this allow flatting of open races, and also over flatting, but these are something I don't recommend using, because basically it always assumes that when flat call happens pre-flop, the hands are always checked into showdown, and that is often not realistic assumption. So basically it affects then also like other possible actions like 3-bets and so on, because it assumes that equity is always realized by the hand. Okay, so now Danitas corrects information that it's actually in the official version, so there might not be huge difference anymore. But anyway, beta version will likely have the latest features if new ones are added. And in here on the limp part, we also have this allow limping option, which can be reasonable, allow over limping as well. If you are analyzing situation that someone limps and you think that what sort of hands you can shove over to limp or something like that. But for this hand, we can also define that we have 2 pp opening range and shoving opening range. And then we just fold again all of those previous players. And as you can see, calculation is more heavy now because it does calculate the all-in and 2 pp open race situations, and it does calculate this for all players. So also situation where hero folds are calculated here. So there is going to be button shoving range, min racing range, and so on. So if we have 9-player table, there is going to be just a huge amount of calculations it needs to be done. So here we see that Hold'em resources would create this sort of shoving ranges, that there is actually only 10-9 suited. And it would then create min racing range like this. And this is pretty often the case because we have no ICM here, it's pure chip EV, so it's less often that we want to be shoving necessarily. But as we can see here is that in our shoes, hands like Jack 10 suited would actually be in min race calling range, which I think is kind of questionable. But I would assume that shoving would be the better option for a hand like that. So I think you shouldn't be reading these results as Bible, so to say. Did I say it correct? Well, anyway. But anyway, decent feature to check those, that can you be, for example, in some ICM heavy situation, you have some sort of ace jack or something, and can you induce with it? Should you be open shoving it? How wide villain range needs to be that you could induce? Or in this sort of situation, can you raise call ace 10, for example, and so on. Okay, so happy it helped at least Alex. But yeah, I think those were the hands were the most interesting ones. Then there was this 10-9. I think actually I could have folded here on the turn because the jack is so bad for considering villain likely opening range. So it was probably, but of course if we do, it was not this one. So the main point here are basically that if we defend here, I don't think we can fold on this flop, even though king is not the greatest of cards, but still with this sort of stack to pot ratio, we can't be overly much folding either, because then our pre-flop defend will be pretty questionable. So the basic point is that can we defend pre-flop, considering that this is 10 or 11 hand situation close to bubble. But if we defend, I think we have to continue here pretty much. But if we are check calling and this sort of card or some ace comes, I think we could probably fold. Because if he had some sort of queen jack, ace queen, ace jack, he might easily see bet all of those combos improved So, and it's probably kind of unlikely he would be betting some sort of pocket 8s, or he might bluff with some ace 9, ace 8 type of hands. But of course the ugly part here is basically the pot odds we are getting, and I actually think it's, considering our stack it's actually even smaller than 29%. So, but if we would want to analyze this further, we should first define the range Villainy has and check our equity against that range. Well, definitely I'm not going to start new games anymore, but that is consideration that I have personally thought as well, that I could play in these MTT SNG sort of, or I could change the voting into MTTs and try to search those quick, small player pool games. But I just think that it probably quite easily requires multiple sites. I doubt that it's possible to just play in 888 and have enough of those type of games. Or then it becomes like some 5-hour session, and I don't really like to talk for 5 hours, that's for sure. But yeah, thanks for watching the coaching and giving comments. And good evening for whatever you are going to be doing next. Bye for now.